One of the most common questions physicians treating patients with inflammatory bowel disease are asked is whether changing one's diet can positively affect the course of their disease. Now, traditionally, our answer had been, we have no clue.
I can't personally understand how this could be any competent doctor's answer, given the fact that IBD is an inflammatory bowel disease. Food is obviously going to directly affect the digestive tract because that's where we digest our food.
But this may now be changing, given the evidence that hydrogen sulfide may be playing a role in ulcerative colitis. And since the sulfur-containing amino acids concentrated in meat cause an increase in colonic levels of this rotten egg gas, maybe we should take off the meat.
Okay, so Dr. Greger is suggesting that we remove meat, take the meat out, the stuff that humans have always gravitated towards since day one. Take that out because hydrogen sulfide may, keyword may, play a role in ulcerative colitis. Well, if that is the case, Dr. Greger, then why are you not suggesting that we also remove all cruciferous vegetables and even things like dried fruits, if we're going to be consistent with that kind of logic?
See, animal protein isn't just associated with an increased risk of getting inflammatory bowel disease in the first place, but also IBD relapses once you have the disease.
Notice the words associated and risk. So essentially everything he just said was totally meaningless. Associations aren't something that offer the answers that we want or need, and risk, well, that's not something that this study can help us with either. The idea that animal proteins or byproducts of animal proteins cause issues in the human body is just ridiculous. I mean, we've been consuming animal fats and proteins forever, and so if they caused any issues, we would know about it. In fact, we wouldn't be here talking about it right now.
This is a recent development. Because the concept of IBD as a lifestyle disease mediated mainly by a westernized diet is not widely appreciated, an analysis of diet in the follow-up period after diagnosis in relation to a relapse of inflammatory bowel disease had been ignored, but not any longer.
Sounds promising.
Ulcerative colitis patients in remission and their diets were followed for a year to see which foods were linked to the bloody diarrhea coming raging back, and the strongest relationship between a dietary factor and an increased risk of relapse observed in this study was for a high intake of meat.
What kind of meat? Processed meat? With what? A seeded bun? A few beers? In the results, you'll probably see the word associated again, so proves nothing.
Since sulfur-containing amino acids are the primary source of dietary sulfur, a low-sulfur diet essentially means a shift from a typical diet high in animal protein and fat and low in fiber to more of a plant-based diet.
I don't actually think that the typical diet is even high enough in animal fats and proteins, which are very easily digested, but he wants to substitute those for indigestible fibre, because all plants contain indigestible fibre, certainly in whole form, and also plant proteins, which most humans have a real difficulty digesting properly. So it doesn't sound like sound advice for someone with gut issues to consume indigestible portions of plants.
Westernized diets are pro-inflammatory, and plant-based diets are anti-inflammatory.
The standard Western diet, no doubt, is the worst diet on the planet. It's highly inflammatory. No one's disputing that. But a plant-based diet is also highly inflammatory. I mean, most people will go vegan or plant-based for a combination of ethical and health reasons. But it's interesting that most people abandon the diet for health reasons. And of those people that abandon the diet, a huge percentage report having gut issues. The irony.
Let's see what treatment with a plant-based diet can do after the onset of ulcerative colitis during a low-carbohydrate weight loss diet. A 36-year-old man lost 13 pounds on a low-carb diet, but also lost his health, diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. Put him on a diet centered around whole plant foods, though, and poof, symptoms resolved without medication.
I don't think anyone should be getting too excited over one case report, but I remember, it's just anecdotal, I remember years ago when I was suffering during a flare-up of ulcerative colitis, I got a bit fed up and I thought, whatever, I'm going to have a Guinness. And I had a Guinness for about 3 nights in a row, and guess what, on the 4th day, I put myself in remission. But I don't think drinking a Guinness a night is the answer to the IBD problem.
Okay, but this is just one case. I mean, case reports are like glorified anecdotes. Right? The value of case reports lies in their ability to inspire researchers to put it to the test, and that's exactly what they did.
Sounds extra promising.
There had never been a study published focusing on using plant-based diets for the treatment of ulcerative colitis until now.
Don't do an impression. Don't do an impression. Just do not do an impression. Just
considering the lack of a suitable diet to be the biggest issue faced in the current treatment of inflammatory bowel disease, and regarding it as a lifestyle disease caused mainly by our omnivorous diet,
yes, carnivore is required, not herbivore.
A group of Japanese gastroenterologists have been providing a plant-based diet to all patients with IBD for over a decade, and publishing extraordinary results, far better than have to date been reported in the medical literature.
Just do not do an impression.
I profiled some of their early work in one of my first videos that went up on nutritionfacts.org, found to be effective in the maintenance of remission in Crohn's disease by 100% at 1 year, 90% at 2 years. So how about a plant-based diet for relapse prevention in ulcerative colitis? Educational hospitalization meant bringing patients into the hospital to control their diet and educate them about the benefits of plant-based eating so they'd be more motivated to continue it at home.
Right, so not controlled whatsoever then?
Most patients, about 3/4, experienced improvements such as disappearance or decrease in bloody stool during hospitalization. Fantastic. OK, but here's the really exciting part. Then they followed the patients for 5 years, and 81% were able to remain in remission the whole time, and 98% were able to keep the disease at bay for at least a year. I mean, that blows other treatments away. Those relapse rates are far lower than those reported with medication.
But 37 patients were receiving medication, and you can't account for all the variables in which you didn't control.
Plant-based diets are rich in fiber, which feeds our good gut bugs that may partly explain why a plant-based diet prevents a variety of chronic diseases.
Fiber is a non-essential, indigestible polysaccharide. It's not fiber that feeds our good gut bugs, it's ketones. Now once the fiber reaches the gut, the bacteria that reside there partially ferment this stuff, which creates all this gas buildup and discomfort. That generates short-chain fatty acids, which have to be converted into ketones first before nourishing our good gut bugs. So it's ketones that we need. We can get that on a ketogenic diet.
And so that's what we may be seeing with inflammatory bowel disease, suggesting that replacing an omnivorous diet with a plant-based diet is the right approach.
Well, if you're putting it all down to fiber, then it has been totally debunked. Take a look at this study showing complete resolution of all digestive-related symptoms on a zero-fiber diet. I think the take-home message today is to not put nutritional studies on a pedestal. I mean, you can find a study that shows almost anything, and then another study to debunk that study, so I wouldn't pour too much value into nutrition studies. I've had ulcerative colitis and lost my entire colon, so I think I have every right to speak on this topic. I would definitely recommend looking at the work of Sophia Clements in Hungary. She's part of the Paleomedicina way of treating autoimmunity, and this is what we're talking about here, is autoimmunity. IBD, they're autoimmune diseases, and they're all sitting on the foundation of leaky gut. And so this is the absolute priority for anyone sitting at home watching this with IBD. You want to seal your gut. And the only way to do this properly is to remove all plant matter from the diet, do this slowly over about 6 weeks, transition towards a lion diet, that's strictly fatty red meat, and that is it. You can salt to taste and you can drink water to thirst. Visually, it looks something like 1 part fat to 2 parts protein. And this is the protocol you want to carry out. It takes 6 weeks to transition to that point and then continue for 3 months. And you should have miraculous results. Anyway, I do hope you found this helpful. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.